I had spent years constructing models, geometrical, numerical, and philosophical, to decode the deeper workings of human potential. The world, as I saw it, was governed by patterns, hidden yet persistent, waiting to be unraveled. Everything we inherit, our culture, our religion, our history, even the language we use, is a lens, a filter. We don't see the world as it is, we see it as we were conditioned to. That may be true, but how does one separate the veil from reality itself? You don't separate it, you see it. The simplicity of her statement unsettled me. I was accustomed to breaking problems apart, solving them systematically. But this was different. Then tell me, if reality is obscured by veils, what is behind them? And something within me knew this was necessary. The word veil lingered in my mind like an unanswered equation. I had spent my life identifying external barriers, economic systems, industrial constraints, efficiency bottlenecks. But was it possible that the most significant barrier of all was unseen? I opened my notebook and began to write. The first veil, culture. We inherit beliefs, never questioning where they originated. The second veil, religion, not as faith but as doctrine, dictating what is sacred and what is forbidden. The third veil, history. A narrative written by victors shaping our perception of time. The fourth veil, language, words, define thoughts. Thoughts shape reality. The fifth veil, society. Expectations that mold our ambitions before we can even name them. I paused, realizing something profound. If these veils existed, then they were not absolute truths. They were constructs. And if they were constructs, they could be unmade. I closed my notebook, exhaling slowly. The real question was I ready to step through her, my mind still occupied with the list of veils I had written the night before. But what if I don't know where to look? Veils are like this. They don't exist as physical barriers, but in how we define things. The moment you say, "This is my belief, and that is yours," the veil forms. And yet, without distinctions, there would be no understanding. We categorized to make sense of the world. Was it possible that my own mind, trained in systems engineering and structured models, had unknowingly built walls instead of bridges? You see the horizon? It looks like an edge, a limit. But if you move toward it, it moves too. It was never truly there. The moment you believe in an absolute boundary, you've fallen for the illusion. Willing to walk toward the horizon knowing you may never reach it. I had spent years refining my model of human potential, using the cuboctahedron as a framework to understand transformation. It was logical, structured, precise. Was my model just another veil? We seek security and structure. A model provides stability, a method of navigation. Without it, we're left adrift. Yes, but stability is not the same as truth. Then what is truth? The moment you stop searching for it as something separate from yourself, you'll know. It was infuriating, and yet, something within me stirred. Perhaps for the first time I wasn't trying to answer.
Take on an unexpected but crucial topic: irrationality. It's often dismissed as harmless, an individual weakness, or a lack of intelligence. But what if we told you that irrationality is far more dangerous? What if it is a profound and destructive social force that resists change, undermines critical thought, and perpetuates oppression?
Most people associate irrationality with ignorance or simply lacking knowledge. But I believe irrationality is more insidious than that. Unlike ignorance, which can be remedied with education, irrationality is a resistance to learning. It is an active refusal to think critically. And here's where it becomes dangerous. While evil can be confronted with logic and reason, irrationality is impervious to intellectual engagement. It resists awareness, self-correction, and the capacity for change.
That's a frightening thought. So irrationality is not just about lacking intelligence, but about actively rejecting it. That reminds me of something I read once. The problem with the world is that fools are always so sure of themselves, and the wise are full of doubt.
Exactly. Irrational individuals don't just lack knowledge, they reject the very possibility of learning. They cling to their unexamined beliefs and refuse intellectual challenges that might force them to confront uncomfortable truths.
This makes me think of history, how oppressive regimes thrive not because of the evil of a few, but because of the irrationality of many. Ordinary people follow orders without thinking, without questioning the human cost. Their passivity allows atrocities to unfold.
And that's what makes irrationality so destructive. The most dangerous individuals are not always those with malicious intent, but those who thoughtlessly conform. When people gain positions of power, they often stop questioning themselves. They surround themselves with advisors who reinforce their biases, creating a feedback loop of ignorance.
That's terrifying. So power doesn't just corrupt, it makes people resistant to new ideas, reinforcing stupidity?
Precisely. This leads to irrational decision-making, incompetence at the highest levels, and the suppression of independent thought. When irrationality is institutionalized, it becomes a tool for oppression and social stagnation.
It's not just in politics, though. I see this intellectual laziness everywhere. In workplaces, in social media, even in personal relationships. People prefer simple black and white answers rather than confronting complexity.
Yes, intelligence requires effort, introspection, and the willingness to embrace uncertainty. Irrationality offers a false sense of security. That's why populist ideas, sound bites, and oversimplified narratives gain so much traction. People gravitate toward the easiest, most digestible version of reality.
And social media amplifies this, right? Algorithms create echo chambers where people are only exposed to ideas that reinforce what they already believe.
Exactly. This fosters ideological bubbles, groupthink, and the rejection of intellectual diversity. It becomes more difficult to challenge dominant narratives, and the result is a society where debates become shallow, progress is hindered, and those who think critically are marginalized.
But there must be a way out. How do we resist this cycle of irrationality?
It starts with cultivating independent thinking. People must learn to question authority, examine their own beliefs, and develop a mindset of curiosity rather than blind acceptance. Critical thinking should not be an academic exercise, it should be a daily practice.
That makes sense. But resisting conformity takes courage. Many people fear standing apart from the crowd.
That's true, but breaking free requires effort. It demands education, dialogue, and a willingness to challenge one's own assumptions. True intellectual growth requires humility, the ability to accept that we might be wrong.
And this isn't just about individuals, it's a societal responsibility. We need to build systems that value intelligence over ignorance, that reward critical thinking rather than penalizing it.
Yes. If we don't, irrationality will continue to shape history, ensuring that power remains in the hands of those who are least capable of wielding it responsibly. The antidote to irrationality is critical thought, self-reflection, and the courage to challenge conformity. We must never surrender our capacity for independent thinking, because the moment we do, we become complicit in the very systems that hold us back.
That concludes today's episode of Unlocking Human Potential. If you found this discussion thought-provoking, share it with others. Challenge your assumptions, and most importantly, stay curious. Until next time, keep thinking critically.